Welcome to the Village Green, NBTV show on the environment in Newport Beach. I'm Nancy Gardner, your host, and today we're going to talk about some things the city is doing, things that are going on in spite of COVID, that keep our water clean. I'm here with John Kappeler of our Public Works Department. I want you to note that we are socially distanced.
Nice to say a good
We're not wearing masks because that makes it hard for you to hear us, but with all that's been going on, I know that the Public Works Department has really been quite busy. You were saying that you've taken advantage of this to do a lot of restriping and that sort of thing. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about a project that's been a long time coming.
Yes, Nancy, and thank you. Nice to have a social distance hello with you. Public Works has been busy. We've been able to take advantage of less traffic to do some things, as you mentioned. What we're here today to talk about is water quality, one of our favorite subjects. And this is an important spot for the city. It's an important spot for the city council. Back in the days when we were doing a lot of water quality together, there are 4 spots in Newport Bay that were routinely not meeting the state standards for testing. The background is we test 35 spots in Newport Beach once a week, and we have certain state metrics we have to meet. This spot where we are is the last remaining spot in Newport Beach that has been a little bit of a chronic problem for us.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that for a minute,
Sure.
John. Why has it been such a problem? I mean, what is contributing to all this?
We have a lot of theories. This is pretty far from the entrance to the harbor. The water doesn't mix and circulate with the tides as well here. As we'll talk about as we get into this is a very big drainage area. We've got 12-foot storm drains that, for the viewer, we're at PCH and Newport Boulevard, and this goes all the way up to Newport Boulevard and 17th Street. So you've got 800 acres of largely impervious surface, meaning parking lots, streets, and all that water, all that runoff ends up right here.
We've identified it as a problem. It was always when we did it at our water quality committee meetings, we'd get to the results of the testing and it would be there again. And every once in a while we go for weeks.
Correct.
It seems like we just go for a week and we think we're going to make it, we're not going to be posted, and then it would be there again.
It would be there again. So we've chased this for a long time, as Nancy well knows. The city has done, we've put in trash capturing devices upstream. There's a trash capturing device just over your right shoulder. We've put in a natural bioswale to clean up the water. We've done all these things and we still seem to have this little bit of a problem here. It's gotten better, but quite honestly, it's still a problem. So what the city did a few years ago is we did a very detailed and expensive testing procedure, and we looked not only at bacteria, which is a state standard, we looked for pathogens, viruses, anything that would be a health problem for anyone that recreates in the harbor. What we found from that is we did find a little bit of human inputs into the storm drain. So we haven't been able to zero in on that, where that's coming from yet, but we know it's in the storm drain, and that's why we're here today to talk about this project.
Okay, so got the problem semi-identified,
Yes.
but we know it's an issue. It's not. It's obviously once you have that human element, becomes much more of an issue than before.
Correct.
So, what's to be done? We've put in the natural treatment system. We've done other things. What was left?
So as we talked about, there's 2 large storm drains kind of over here behind your right shoulder that drain about between 600 and 800 acres. It's 2 different little sub-watersheds that go behind Hoag Hospital up Newport Boulevard. That's runoff that we're all familiar with. If you hose down your driveway, if you have a broken sprinkler line, if you're washing down your place of business, all that water is literally going to end up right here. When that runoff goes down the street, it can pick up bacteria from birds. It can pick it up from someone that hasn't cleaned up after their pet. It can pick up trash. It can pick up oil and things from cars. That's ending up here. We know that water isn't perfect. We actually know there's a little bit of contamination there. So what the city is going to do is we're going to take these 2 large storm drains, and I think we'll go to the construction site next. We're going to divert that water from the storm drain into the sewer. That water is going to go over to the sanitation district and get treated just like sewage would be from your home. So we're literally going to eliminate the source. The water's going to go away, and that's going to solve the problem.
All right, so diversion. And I know that's sort of a last step. You try all these other methods.
Correct.
And the one problem with diversion is capacity. You don't want to overload the sanitation district. So we use that sparingly. But when nothing else worked, off it goes.
We try everything we can. We try the natural things. We try the environmentally sound things. If it doesn't work, we do diversion. You're absolutely right. There's a sanitation district capacity issue. Throwing kudos to them, they have agreed to take so much dry weather runoff per day. The complication there is we've got to have capacity in the pipes to get it to them. Just because they can treat it doesn't mean we can always get it to them. This part of Newport Beach is an established community. These sewer lines are old. Capacity's increased over 50, 60 years. So we have to do all that analysis too. We have to look at the sewer lines. Can the pump stations handle them? Can the diameter of the sewer line handle this additional flow? So there's a lot of engineering that goes involved in it.
I'll say, and of course it's, as you say, in an established city, you don't just have a bunch of vacant land to run pipes along. You have to dig up all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, and we're not going to...
Just figuring out how to put it, where to put it, must have been a real challenge.
Where to put it, how to get it there. We want a sewer line close by because it's expensive to tie into the sewer line. We've got to make sure that line has the capacity to get it to the sanitation district. As you just mentioned, we're probably not going to close down Coast Highway and trench across it to get to a sewer line. So it is technically challenging, but we're engineers and it's fun, and that's what we do.
Yeah. Well, and the end result will be taking one of the last really major impacts to water quality in the bay. That will be removed.
Correct.
So now, are we diverting all of the water? I mean, as I say, as you said, we have the natural treatment system up there. Does that mean that's irrelevant, or how does that fit in?
It's not irrelevant because it's pre-treatment. So we've got to clean the water a little bit before it goes to the sanitation district. We've got to have a trash rack in. The natural treatment system, the bioswale, does act as a trash capturing device. So we are cleaning up the water to send cleaner water to the sanitation district. It makes their processes easier. So everything the city's done has been relevant. We've thought about this systematically over the years. We've just had to go through all of them this time.
Well, no, but I mean, I think it's always, you know, as a resident, knowing we have a certain amount of money to spend on things, it's nice to know that what was a fairly expensive project still is important, that it's helping this, that if perhaps we didn't have the natural treatment system, it would have been harder for the sanitation district to make that agreement.
Correct. And for the residents like yourself, for the environmental community, folks want us to try, and I agree, the natural things first, and that makes good sense. I would like to touch on the money quickly because there has been a lot of money spent in this area. The bioswale was paid for with a state water quality control board grant, which kudos to them.
Well, I have to interrupt, right. Kudos to John. John has gotten more money in grants, I think, probably than any other person in our city. You've done a great job. So this is one more that you conquered for us.
My father used to always say to me, free is better than cheap. So I try to get the money. This project is paid for 80% by another state water quality control board grant. So again, kudos to the City Council for allowing us to apply for these grants. This is about the engineer's estimate was a $1.1 million project. The good news is we're going to come in under budget. I don't know what the exact number is going to be yet. The state's giving us $800,000 in change. The City Council has kicked in about another 270-odd thousand. That gets us close to the 1.1. I got to give a lot of kudos to our management for that because a lot of this water is not coming from Newport Beach.
I think that's an important point.
And
you've got some illustrations that can better show this, which we'll get to. But it's not just Newport. I mean, it's just as with the from San Diego Creek and all that. Yeah. We're not just dealing with the stuff that we create. We've got neighbors.
Correct. We're the infamous end of the pipe. It all ends up here. There's Caltrans right away. There's Caltrans land. There's the city of Costa Mesa. That's how it is. Another good example of cooperation is we have worked with Costa Mesa. Costa Mesa has looked at all of their storm drains and all of their drainage area that feeds into our pipes. They've put trash and debris screens on all of those. So it's a comprehensive plan. Newport has definitely taken the forefront of this, and we're paying them. There's a natural thing for us.
Yes. Complaining about something.
Yeah, exactly. So Newport has led this charge, but we have had cooperation from our neighboring city. So that's a little bit of good news to report as well.
Okay, so now tell us about that there are 2 big pipes here, you say, 2 big storm drains?
Correct.
All right, and they're right here.
Yes.
All
It's maybe hard to orientate folks from here. We're looking at the turning basin. Newport Boulevard is right up over Nancy's shoulder. There's a pipe that runs up Newport Boulevard. For viewers that are familiar with the area, that drains all the way up like 17th Street, Newport Boulevard. There's another city pipe that runs basically right next to Hoag Hospital. That's kind of the Superior Placentia area up on the hill. All of that land area drains to this location through these couple of pipes.
Okay, so that brings up something. We've got Hoag Hospital right here.
Correct.
Now, have you worked with Hoag in terms of their, I mean, if you talk about humans and everything, they've got, obviously, they produce a ton of delicate stuff that they,
Yes.
I'm sure, dispose of properly, but have you ever worked with them in terms of just making sure that there's, that they're doing everything they can do?
We have. Hoag has been a good partner on this project as well. The construction site that we're going to go to next is actually on Hoag property.
Oh, okay.
So Hoag has been a great partner in this. It's a city storm drain, it's a city sewer line, but we've got to connect those 2 pipes together. We had to go through Hoag property to do that. We've had to tear up their landscaping. We've had to shut down one of their parking structures. They've been really good to work with. They see the benefit in this. So their engineering director, he understands water quality. They do a pretty decent job up there of not trying to overwater, not trying to contribute. It hasn't rained here in a long time. We're getting 50,000 gallons a day running down this pipe. The water's coming from somewhere.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. At least here we know it's not groundwater, right?
Correct.
Like is in Buck Gully or something. So I think you also said something about a trash skimmer here?
Yes, correct. So we went through this whole list of things to try to solve this problem. A lot of it is capturing trash. You don't think of trash and bacteria in the same sense, but you do get the bacteria attaching to the hamburger wrapper and it ends up in the water and voila, you've got bacteria. It's a hard nexus, but we know trash contributes. We have a trash skimmer underneath one of the pipes right here. We'll go take a look at it. It's a great big pull skimmer. An environmentalist from San Clemente designed it. We've got about 8 of them in the harbor right now. Long Beach has them, Dana Point has them. They're just a big pull skimmer. They work 24/7 and they collect the trash. It's a neat little device. That was also paid for by a grant, so good news there.
Well, I think I'd like to take a step back and maybe into Water Quality 101.
Sure.
Because I can see some people who may be new to the subject saying, well, this is sort of a big deal for just what's probably, as you say, it's not this big amount. It's not like a huge sewage spill or anything. It's just a little bit of stuff that's going. But the normal tests for bacteria, which we consider indicators.
Correct.
So what does that mean? What does an indicator mean?
So what we do is we test for 3 different kinds of bacteria, and they're indicator bacteria. These 3 kinds of bacteria separately, in and amongst themselves, aren't necessarily problematic. If 1 or 2 or 3 of them are over a threshold that the scientists have come up with, it's an indicator that there could be other things in the water that could make people ill. You can't do a norovirus test because it takes weeks to get the results. You can't do a pathogen test because it takes 8 or 9 days to get the results. So we can do a bacteria test quickly, and that'll give us public safety that it's okay to go in the water, or that we should put a sign up saying it's not okay. So it's a rapid way to test the water and err on the side of public health.
Not that rapid as those of us who go in the
fair
water.
enough.
It's like we're still waiting for the 1-hour test or something, because our test today will say, hey, you shouldn't have been in the water yesterday. But I think the other thing that I always found interesting is that what we are testing for is, as you say, 1, it doesn't necessarily have human health.
Correct.
Effect, but it also, bacteria tend to have a shorter lifespan in the water.
Correct.
And some of the things that we really don't want in the water can live a lot longer, like some of the viruses.
Correct.
So that's one reason we're doing this, is because there are some things that could be in there that we really don't want in there. And even if they're in small amounts, I guess you don't need much of a virus to get sick.
Not
whereas
much at all.
Bacteria you need to, I remember Dr. Skinner, all his lessons, we all learned so much from him with his all of his skill and knowledge that he brought to the subject. So, all right, we've taken a bit of care of this. Now we're going to go up and see the site, huh?
Correct.
But you brought some illustrations. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you've got?
Hopefully I can go through these. So this is kind of the watershed map. So this shows you the area that is drained to this spot.
And I think that gives you a much better idea when you see
It gives you a
visually
much better
just
idea.
how much is covered.
Here's a fancy diagram with a bunch of numbers that no one's going to be able to read, but these are the results of our test. We needed to zero in on where this source was coming from. There's a vessel pump out station for the boaters over here. We looked at that. You've got a kind of a dead spot in the marina where the tide doesn't flush as well. Is that contributing to it? We looked at that. We looked at the storm drain pipes. We looked at the practices of the marina. Are they washing boats correctly? Are they doing things right? So we had to go down through the whole list because we've been looking at this area for a while, and this is $1 million project. We needed to get it right. So the good news and the bad news is we found marker in the storm drain that's a health concern. It's not the normal bacteria. Whether it's dog or bird, we're not exactly sure. That DNA work is pretty hard to sort out, but nonetheless, we know it's in the storm drains and it's going to go away.
Okay, we're going to take care of it. But meanwhile, there's another issue that you brought up, which is that this is an area of low circulation. And it just occurred to me. I mean, we tested a circulation device.
Correct.
Even farther back in at one point, and the residents around there complained that it was noisy. They didn't like it. Mm-hmm. But this is an area that doesn't have any residents. I wonder, would something like that be of any value here?
Your memory's good. Over my left shoulder is Newport Island, and we looked at installing circulation devices around Newport Island. This is the farthest spot from the entrance of the harbor. That water takes about 33 days to circulate around. Stagnant water is not healthy water. Moving water, flowing rivers, flowing creeks, streams, tides, all that stuff helps for water quality. We did look at putting a couple of them right here. We've done a circulation study here. This is definitely the storm drain's definitely the problem child. Will it fix everything? We're certainly hopeful it's going to get us pretty darn close to the goalpost. If we have to put a circulation device in here, we can do it. So it's certainly a thought that's still on the table.
Okay. Well, let's go look at the work.
Great. So now we're up at the construction site. This is for one of the two storm drains. This is near Hoag Hospital. The parking structure is behind me. So what we have here is the storm drain. It runs right down along the side of the street and goes down to the turning basins we were just standing. Over my right shoulder where the street is, you can see where we've dug up the asphalt. That's where the sewer pipe is. So we've taken the storm drain water, we divert it at this manhole over to the sewer, goes down to PCH, and then that water goes to the sanitation district. So this water will no longer be going to Newport Bay. So that's the storm drain to sewer diversion.
As I say, a lot of what Public Works does, we see, it's very visible. They're building things, they're paving and everything, but there's a lot that we never see. And I think we're at the site of one such place.
Correct, and thank you. So we're a little bit upstream of the outfall of the storm drain pipe, and as we talked about, there's two big pipes that go towards Costa Mesa and another one that goes towards Hoag. We have these trash capture devices on these storm drains. They're buried underground. You would never see them. It's just a manhole or two, but these things are capturing all the trash before it gets to the bay. We've got about 40 of these in the city, a lot of city ones and then some private ones as well, but it's a good visual because you just don't drive down the street and see this, but this is a very large device that captures virtually 100% of the trash.
Do you have any idea of how much this removes from the bay? From getting to the bay?
I'm going by memory here, but this one's in the magnitude of tons per year. So
it's just a single one?
Yeah, it's a single one.
So overall, we're talking about a lot of trash that's not getting to the bay. So,
yes.
So next time you see a manhole cover, you go, wow, that may be one of the ones with collecting trash for us.
Exactly.
All right, thanks. That's our show. Until next time, let's all work on making our village green, but let's all work also on staying safe.